Hey guys, and welcome back to the Blue Collar Off Road podcast, episode 11. I'm here with Luke, Cody, Richie, and myself. And today we're going to change things up a tiny bit. We're going to focus more on one main topic, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I was thinking today, I was going just over questions, things we could go over on the podcast. And something that stuck out of my mind was the how do you plan a build? I mean, generally when we're building these things, it takes 3-4 years for some of the stuff to come to fruition, and at least for me. And I was interested to see if you guys had similar experiences when you were planning builds. So I guess we'll try to go over the shortcomings along the way. Like, how do things change as you're from your initial vision on a build, and how does that affect how you're going about it as you go through this, the journey of building your Jeep or rig or whatever you got. And Luke, I think you might have like, the most experience building these things. So why don't you start us off?
So, when I first went to go and look at what I wanted to build with my Jeep, I thought about it and I'm like, if I want to make this thing into an actual wheeler, I know it's going to need stiffeners and I know it's going to need long arms, that kind of thing. And so I just went and figured out what I was going to need to make what I wanted happen. So I went to Rough Stuff and ordered the brackets, I ordered the Heims, yada yada, that kind of thing. And you got to start with some kind of a vision. The vision it can be dynamic and change throughout time, but you have to have some form of a vision of what you want to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's definitely how I sort of got started. I never really thought I'd end up with my Jeep where it is now, and I'm like, that's really cool to think back like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I never thought I'd have what I have, but that was sort of even then, if even though it was unobtainable to me at that point in time, that's what I wanted, right? So that's sort of what drove me in the direction I went, and things sort of just fell in place. Is
Yeah.
So
that it?
something that I really like about yours is that you had your Jeep and you ran with it. You dealt with the bullshit. You had a vision that slowly just took its paces. You flipped the pages on the book. You kept writing and going to where it is now. Where I know with me, I've had 6 or 7 XJs. I've had a ZJ. Like I didn't start my process until I really found the perfect Jeep, which is it fell into my hands, and I probably would have started with a shittier Jeep if I just dealt with it. So it's
Mhm.
pretty cool to see that you just took the time, you took the bull by the horns and just fucking hammered it, which is exciting because I
Well,
know. God, sorry.
that's my stubbornness. I generally if I have something, I'm not gonna just get rid of it. It's got to be like there's got to be a really good reason for me to like just totally drop something. I'd rather fix what I have than just dump it and start fresh. Just feels like I don't know, that to me that's demotivating.
So yeah, I mean my first few Jeeps, I knew that I wanted a Cherokee even though I got a ZJ. I when I first started getting to wheeling, I was like, I'm not a big fan of mud. I know the bullshit that goes along with it. So as I started doing it, I had no idea that mine would even be where it is now because to me, a locker, a welded rear, and a lift was the extent of that. I really was not planning on getting to this point, but it's cool to see that I'm happy with the choice I made of starting with a stock Jeep for what I specifically did. But I mean, I have friends that bought Jeeps, which is perfectly fine, but the reason is because it had done everything that was done on it was exactly what would have been done anyways. So, I mean, where do you feel like the best starting point would be? A stock Jeep or something that's already built up to a decent point?
It really depends on the build because, for example, if you were to bring something to my shop and be like, should I buy this? And it's got, an IRO 3-link long arm, an Aussie locker in the 30, and Detroit in the 8 1/4, and it's got at least some form of stiffening done, and the body's in okay shape. It's not rotted to Christ. The wiring's okay. I would say buy it. But my problem is there's a lot of wow, sorry. I managed to fuck up saying hack garbage out there, but it's true. There's a lot of people that are just like ridiculously bad at what they do, and I'm not trying to shit on people, but it's better sometimes to start with nothing, like a bone stock Jeep, for example. When Cody's Jeep came in, we were able to sit down and just, what do you want to do? Okay, this is what I want. And I'm sure he can tell you more about that process, but from there, we just drew the plans. If it was hacked garbage, we would have been working backwards.
Yeah, and that's something that I was really, really excited about. Mine was it was fucking mint. There was nothing wrong with it, but on top of bringing that like kind of perfect body to Luke, Luke was able to kind of sit down with me and be like, "Hey, we can do this at a pretty decent price point and a decent rate. Like, I mean, like we won't have to redo your floor pans. I mean, granted, when we did the stiffeners, the unibody was already shot, so we knew we were going, we were heading into deep waters when we were playing around with that. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that helped me with like creating my vision for my Jeep was having you guys or having the club. Being able to have a group chat with a bunch of idiots, but who also have been playing with these Jeeps for fuck. I mean, Colin's been into this for 10 years now, right? Longer than that, probably. It's been a long time, or at least 8 years, like whatever it may be. Long time, longer than I have.
Kish and
And
myself have been in it for 10 years.
but perfect.
Roundabout.
That's two more people, you know. Like
Yep.
it's nice to know. Like I mean, who did I have? My father, who had a CJ7 that thought 33s and leaf springs were God's gift to mankind. Like there's no availability other than just diving right in and learning it and asking the right people of like, hey, this is what I've got. This is my budget. What would you suggest? And it's really cool to have that. And I think that's one of like the biggest plus factors was with that Jeep and kind of getting into this.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think for me, being part of a club that actually went off-roading consistently definitely helped solidify, the plans that I had, right? Because me lifting my daily driver and, at that point, I'm not really racing it out, but like, not everything I was doing was fully functional, right? Not everything I was attaching to it was, it's just typical Jeep bullshit, right? It's not all for a purpose. And I think initially, before I really had a club, I was getting to a point where I'd done the lift, I'd done the tires, I'd done stuff, and I was like, well, now I'm done. I don't want to be done, but like, I just don't know where else to go, right? And as soon as I joined the club, it sort of was like, okay, this is how it does, and it's not doing what I want. So now I need to add, add a front locker, add a rear locker, or do the long arms because it now drives like shit because I've built it to be a rock crawler, not a daily driver, and it just doesn't drive that good anymore. But
speaking of control arms, there was this guy on Facebook. I swear to God, it irked me so bad. So this guy posted on, I think it was Club XJ. He posted about Core 4x4 control arms and how the rubber bushings are so bad, this and that. They blew out at 10,000 miles. And he went on this massive rant about how they were the worst things. But I asked him the simple question of like, hey, like, what's your suspension lift and what's your control arm length and what's the angle of that? And he was like, that has nothing to do with it. Like, I had no, dude, back, you asked me that question 3 years ago, I would never know. But like, dude, control arm angle, holy shit, that matters so much if you like drive. I mean, even off road, if you want those things to last a decent bit, like,
Not even
Jesus.
just that, but it's like the initial assembly. One thing I do to make a poly bushing hold up is I slather the outside of the bushing up with grease before I install the pin. And whenever I've done that, the bushings have held up fairly okay. Like I've got the traction arm from my Jeep down at the shop, and the bushings are perfectly made. If I wanted to cut them off and put them on something else, it would not matter. I could do that.
Huh. I mean, I guess. Yeah. I mean, but then we're going back into the conversation between me and Graham of poly versus rubber. Like, but I mean, that's totally different. That's control arm compared to motor. That's a complete different beast.
you can have your poly control arm bushings. Have fun with that.
Hey, they work.
It'd probably be fun. On a control arm, I think you'd probably be okay.
It's working. I mean, I haven't had any complaints.
You do? You have poly bushings in your control arms?
Yeah,
Oh.
the side that attaches to the axle, we went with poly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do
He
you have
was-
the
Go ahead.
it's not I'm trying to think. Is it the Clayton joint? Or is it like just a generic?
Believe it's rough stuff? No, fuck, I can't even
I
remember.
think they're
now.
Barnes Heims. He's got 1 1/4 Heims at the axle or at the frame side in the cross member, with a poly bushing at the lower, dual 7/8 by 3/4 Heims on the upper.
And it works. I mean, I have no complaints, and it's pretty nice because we mounted my shock to it. The poly really keeps it from rotating, which is super nice because I know if you do it with double Heim, then you're gonna have problems with rotating your control arm and things start
Yep.
getting wonky and
Especially with
that.
Heims.
So,
Yeah.
Kish, you're going down a different path than everyone else a little bit because you still got the short arms and you got all the
Yeah.
length. Or what did you do? Didn't we stretch that thing?
Yeah, it got stretched like what, 1.75 inches?
I think it was an
Or
inch and a
so.
half. I think it was an inch and a half on that. I can't remember, but whatever. Same
Potato,
difference.
potato.
I think it was an inch and a
I don't know.
No, it
millimeters.
was inch and 5/16. You know, just right in the middle.
Yeah,
It was
we'll go
an
with
inch and
that.
5/8. That's what it was.
Oh, really? Oh, no shit.
Yeah, that's
There
actually
you
what
go.
it
There
was.
you go.
But, why'd you go down that route?
Well, just because I pretty much I got given the what is it? The JK upper rear control arms
Yes.
from Cody's girlfriend,
Yep.
which are 1.5 inches longer than the factory Cherokee arms, but they're beefier. So
Yep.
those worked for my my lower control arms in the front, and then we just made the uppers to go with it, just that way I didn't have tinfoil for my control
Yeah.
arms.
Dude, those fucking stock control arms freak me out so bad.
I honestly I don't know how I was able to last so long with the factory control arms.
It's because you have a brain between your ears. It's because you're smart enough to not jump your Jeep and, like.
But it was definitely a noticeable difference first time out after just doing the stretch though.
Mhm.
That's for sure.
So is your Jeep still on the path that you were envisioning for it?
Yeah, it's actually just gotten faster. Like the speed in which I'm going down that path has just greatly increased.
So did you have to change
'Cause-
anything up because of the platform you were stuck on?
Not
Like, even
particularly,
external
not
constraints like time and money and you just-
money.
yeah, that's always the
Money.
that's always the kicker.
Yeah.
I feel that.
But it's like, what? I'm just starting to go down the whole 1-ton path, and I wasn't expecting to start collecting parts and stuff until like the end of 2021, maybe the beginning of the next year. It's just shit just kind of happened to fall down
Yep.
in just the right way that I could start. already.
Yeah, and that was one thing for me, like going back to what I had said about having a dynamic vision. I went from, all right, well, I want a street legal Jeep that I can drive that's not my old buggy, to, hang on, wait a minute, there's a couple things I did wrong in this situation. I can put 1-tons under it, and, oh, hey, trade a set of air shocks for a set of 1-tons, and I mean 2 air shocks. Okay, cool. Under the Jeep they went, and there's so much stuff on the market to make it easier these
Well, like
days.
that is actually something big for me in terms of planning out someone's build, is being like knowing someone that has already built their rig, at least past where you currently are. It kind of gives you a rough idea on how to do things and what steps to do differently than that person.
Yeah,
So
I
that
think
way yours comes out better. Because I always joke with you, Luke, saying that my Jeep will inevitably always end up being better than yours just because you're the guinea pig.
I
There's
know.
also driver mod.
You know, we do all the fuck ups
Wow.
on your Jeeps. That way we don't do the fuck ups on my Jeep.
I
Wow.
mean, then we also have to consider mine to be the guinea pig too. Then, like
Yeah.
Luke's the major guinea pig, then I'm the second guinea pig, and then he's like, it's like Goldilocks, you know? He's
Yeah,
got
exactly.
the soup a little too hot. I got the soup a little too cold. And Richie's like, I had to slide right in on the middle.
See, you guys are lucky because you guys get to build each other's Jeeps and you can all learn off of Luke's mistakes. There's a reason Jacob and Dave call me Fix It Again Grumbo. It's because I make the mistake and then I have to fucking fix it on my shit.
No, but
You have gotten-
That's the beauty of it. I'm now copying your axle setup, Graham. So now I get to start copying you. Okay, Graham, you fucked up this. All right, I'm gonna do it this way then.
Yep.
But I will say this, you're doing a lot less of the fix it again stuff. I mean, how many
Oh,
tries did it?
no. Don't give me that much credit. I tried my clutches, my master slave cylinder combo thing that all the Jeeps have. I had to swap it this weekend because it was, there must be a leak. There's a big air bubble in it. So you got to pump it up to actually get any clutch engagement. So I had to drive it to Collins so he can do my bumper, which is super cool. I can't wait for that to be done. Put a new clutch in the Friday night before I drove it over there. In my infinite wisdom, I attached the top end, didn't attach the bottom end. It wasn't in the transmission yet.
Oh.
And I was like, cool, oh, this is great. And I pushed it a few times. Then the pressure goes down. I'm like, fuck, I just ruined this. I literally just dumped all the fluid out of this. So I was, angrily put it all back together. Like the spring in that inner piece came out. I slapped it together, put the rubber boot back on, jammed it in. I was like, I'm not putting the other one back in because it's a pain in the ass to wrap it around all the shit that I've got in the engine bay.
Oh yeah, that is one of the
Fluid.
most shitty things to do.
Yeah. Same exact clutch feel. It's still shitty. You still have to pump it. I literally just fucked myself because I was an idiot and I wanted to press the clutch.
Why not keep it automatic?
Yeah, no thanks. I'd rather pump my clutch.
I mean, I definitely see the
times.
point of an automatic to a certain degree, but it's like, it's one of those things. Like, it's again, it's kind of one of those vision things. Do you want to have something that you could just slap between? I mean, both of them you technically could slap between drive and reverse super easily, but like, I've talked to so many different people and their different ideologies on. Oh, I prefer a standard. Oh, I prefer an automatic. Like, I guess downhill descent is like the only thing that I know for a fact. Like, oh, that's really cool for a standard, or absolutely knowing for sure it's gonna stay into second gear, but you can also use electronic shifters. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things that it's all.
I think that's more user.
It's
determined.
Yeah, that's
It's all
preference.
Honestly,
That's what I was trying to think of.
when I swapped mine, it was kind of a gamble because, I mean, I'd had no issue with the automatic. The manual, the AX-15 that I got, sort of just fell in my lap for a good price. It was in a Jeep. It was like everything was there, and it needed to go. My buddy needed it out of his yard, so I said, I'll take it and I'll part it out for $300. So I took the whole Jeep and took all the pieces I need. Now it was an 89, mine's a 2000, so there's like a whole bunch of bullshit that's different, and it has caused me a lot of trouble. I didn't really save much money in the long run by going with that transmission, but when I installed the thing, I didn't know how to drive stick.
Huh.
So I basically had to relearn how to drive my Jeep.
What was your gear ratio when you put the stick in?
I think it was 410 at that point in time.
Oh wow, so they're really not much of a difference from stock.
No. Yeah.
Because
It was
That's, I could definitely see like having like 538s would be a lot easier driving stick on trail than if you were running like 353s in a stock.
yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
that
So the first few trail runs, they were a little rough. I won't lie. I sucked. I was really bad. Having to learn how to drive it to begin with, because I mean it wasn't too hard to pick up, but it did take a minute, right?
Mhm.
Been driving automatics since every day before the swap, never having really touched a manual. We just didn't have many manual cars that I could drive. I was, what was I, 18 or something? I don't know. But but now having driven it for a long time, it's so much more fun to be able to pick my gear and just shoot up something, right? That's the big thing. Okay, first gear didn't work. Let's try it in second and see if I can get my wheel speed up more. There's just like couple more nuances that are just more fun to play with. Yeah, there's like some room for you to fuck up and stall, and everybody will like, you suck at driving. And it's like, yeah, well, I of course I do. It's just how it goes. You know.
Yep.
But,
I
for
do
me, it's just more
remember.
fun.
I do remember, Graham, the first time you came down to my place, you were stalling like every fucking 4 minutes.
I'm getting better. Yeah. See.
Oh, way better. Way better.
Yeah.
Alright,
So,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Luke.
oh, feel free.
Okay, so I have a question now because we had the old comment section on Instagram saying that your Jeep is supercharged. Why the fuck does your Jeep sound like it's supercharged, Luke?
Because
Is this the reason you have a secret supercharger we don't know about, and that's why you keep fucking up motors?
no,
Yep,
no,
that's it.
that
That's
would
it.
simply be my power steering pump being drilled the fuck out with a return spring that was stretched and bouncing off of the rev limiter at 5,500 RPMs. It gets a little loud.
Fair.
You know?
I was curious because I started listening to it and I'm like, man, it really does sound like this dude's Jeep is supercharged. Like, it ain't that cool. I wonder why this guy thinks it's that cool. Like,
Mm.
No, I had to go and tell him, unfortunately, it is not that cool.
You should just
Uh,
let him dream. Let him dream.
How
Yeah.
expensive are the kits? Isn't there like a cheap way to do it with like not a Trans Am, a Grand Am supercharger or something, and then somehow getting it to bolt up and some weird, I don't know, some extra way to do it.
There's a couple of quality kits out there, like for example, there's one that bolts to the manifold for the intake, and it uses an M62 with like a decent aluminum block going right into the setup, and I forget where they put the throttle body on it, but that kit works. It's pretty cool. I just would not want to, if I was gonna do it, I would set it up and try and make it right. I wouldn't like want to do it cheap. I would be okay with running, a split second engine management instead of just like an FMU or something. So,
That's fair.
Yeah,
I want the reliability.
Yeah.
you don't think
Well, it's like
superchargers are reliable? Reliable power.
Well, they're reliable, but I mean that like if you tune it shittily, you're going to end up with shitty results.
Fair.
Well, yeah, that's with anything.
Well, it's like there are definitely some cases where it's all right to spend some money.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
is one of those cases.
And
I mean, tools by all means go as cheap as possible because fuck them. But like when you're going for parts and shit and important parts, spend some money so that way you don't get stuck with shit.
Jeez,
Mm.
you sound
Says
like
the guy
Colin.
that bought a fucking $150 pair of axles.
Those are parts.
Cody, I did like your comment. He does sound like Colin.
Oh my god, dude! I remember when I was talking about what was it? I think it was a track bar because I just recently bought the Stinky Fab track bar, and he was like, "Why didn't you just go with Clayton? Clayton is this much money. It's the best of the best. Fuck you." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. What do I know?" But
I
look,
mean, as long
before
as you have solid ends on a track bar, it's like rubber joints on a track bar. Just, at least to me, having messed with that, it's not worth it. Just get Johnny joints or Heims or whatever it is. It's so much better.
So Luke, I cut you off there. What were you kind of going on a tangent about?
I don't know. I was just gonna keep going with the supercharger shit, but I feel like that's kind of like a mini subtopic that really doesn't matter all that much. So,
That was before
yeah.
that.
I honestly don't remember. Sorry about that, but nah, in regards to what you're doing, I do enjoy the fact that you're actually taking some criticism and the directional advice in an appropriate manner, because it's like I'm more than willing to give anyone advice about anything, but if you're gonna tell me repetitively that I'm a fucking asshole for it, I don't care. It just becomes hard to
if
work
that's the
out.
case, how do me and you work then?
Throwing insults and tools across the shop generally seems to be the best way for us to work, but
Ah, okay, because I was just a little confused because I call you a fucking asshole almost every day.
Well, yeah, but if you're gonna be doing that, that's to be expected, repertoire and all that.
True.
Um, One thing that I found that has always been an issue for me with the builds, though, is I always end up at the end, like, forgetting to take into account the cost of brake pads, U-joints, U-bolt straps. There is so much little stuff that you forget to think about that piles up in the end, and I think that was like my 1-ton swap was pretty damn cheap, but I spent a lot of money at the end that I wasn't expecting to. I don't know if that's been anyone else's experience on these projects.
Hi, I'm
Oh,
poster child.
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that transcends Jeeps. That's 90% of the project is you'll get it done in the 10% of the time or 10% of the money, and then the last 10% takes 90% of the time, right? It's
10%.
uh,
I mean,
it's just
I'd
a
take a
saying,
little bit
but
more than that, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's like the weekend that I actually first lifted my Jeep. I went ahead, I had everything all set. Jeep is completely back together. All I have to do is put the shocks on and then pull it out of the shop. I forgot the fucking shocks.
Wait, you forgot to buy them or you forgot to bring them?
To buy shocks. I
Oh
forgot
my-
to acquire shocks. I had everything all set, ready to fucking go. Jeep is done, just needs shocks. Luke's like, all right, Richie, go grab the shocks. I'm like, motherfucker.
Oh my lord.
And then it was a scramble to call up. I think I ended up calling like 3, 4, 5 parts stores. Finally find a parts store that has like shocks that will work. Get there and it's like, well, fuck, I don't have enough money for that after buying all the hardware and all the other bullshit I had to get to finish everything.
And part store
So I
shocks
had
are
a-
expensive unless you get like
Yeah, they are.
the cheapy white bodies.
I got black. I got black bodies. Yeah.
Ooh.
Spendy.
They were pretty decent shocks. Like they are pretty decent shocks. I'm still running them. But
Yeah.
I had to fucking borrow money from Luke to buy them right there.
Hmm.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, motherfucker, it's the stupidest shit that always kills me.
Yep.
One thing that fucking murdered me on my build was the cost of the brakes. Totally was not even thinking about it when I went into it, and like I started bleeding the calipers that I had because I had a couple of junkyard calipers on the axles that were in really good shape. So I'm like, cool, these are doing great. Awesome. Go for a test drive, and I blew out one of the pistons on the rear caliper, and like, so I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just order a set of power stops, and oh hey, shit. Those are $800. Fuck, I'm not doing that. All right, Ford
Oh my
remands
God.
it is.
Yep. Amazon specials.
This is why I'm happy that you guys know me now, because cheap. Got you. Got you, for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be putting in a nice order with you, Cody.
So
Yeah.
front and rear, $200, everything. Drums, calipers, everything. Pads.
For
I'm talking for
F350.
1-ton axles.
Oh, for 110 axles? Oh, I haven't actually looked into that. I thought you meant Cherokees. Cherokees.
No, I
No.
meant
So
one
it's probably
tons.
gonna be. So if I had to guess, $350 for everything, front and rear. Just a rough guess based off of. what
Yeah,
I
just
know.
because like when I go to actually put the axles in, I want like all brand new brakes and all that jazz.
I said the same.
Make
thing with
everything
my-
all nice and pretty.
So that's not how you do it. You will just run out of money. What I did, and I was blessed because the Ducky brakes that I got on the axles, they were red. They were nice.
Those were those
Amazon
power
specials.
stops.
Yeah, whatever they were. Each of them went out one at a time. So one would go out, I'd replace it. The other would seize up, I'd replace it. The back one would do something stupid, I'd swap it. I got through all of them. It took about a year, but they all failed, and I replaced all of them. And now I have 4 new brakes, and I didn't break the bank all at once. So I feel better about it.
That's not a bad
Mm.
idea. I mean,
If your brakes work, don't swap them. When they
Yeah.
seize up, you'll smell it, especially on the Super Duty ones.
I still remember I'm supposed to do a rebuild kit on my rear drums after we hobbled them together. That I totally forgot. So when we transported the axle from Graham to Luke's shop, we put it on the back of the truck or the trailer, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll rebuild the whole thing by the time I put it in, this and that. Oh yeah, we'll be good. Nah, totally didn't fucking do that. The only thing we did was put new brake lines onto it. And when we get to the shop, we started playing with it. Actually, way later on. This was probably 3-4 months afterwards.
No,
And I
it
forgot-
had the axle shaft out. We were waiting to get the stuff so we could press it all together, and then we discovered this.
Yep, and the adjuster on the bottom was not there. The 2 different springs are not there. So, and the e-brake springs are not there, which on those, the e-brake spring actually holds the 2 lower plates together, or the 2 brake pads together. God, it was a mess. So we ended up just pulling the Dana 30 parts and tacking the things in and pulled the spring together, and it works.
Oh
But it
god.
was, yeah. It was one
And
of those
this
things
wasn't
that-
my fault, right? I gave you the
Oh,
full.
no.
Oh
Okay.
no, it
think
was
it fell
not
off
your
the highway.
fault. It was
Oh, that's. I remember this. Right, the drum was off or something.
yeah,
So
the
you
drum
guys-
was off, and we were yeeting back from the tubing order.
Yep.
That was a
Yeah.
good day.
That was a long day.
That was a
We
good
left
day.
We left at like 8 o'clock and didn't get back till like 9:30. Remember, it was late by the time we got back.
That's only an hour and a half.
AM to PM. AM to
Something
Well, you
along
should have
those lines.
specified.
I'm sorry. But yeah, I remember because after we put it all together, Luke was like, we need to change that. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely will. It's been 8 months. Haven't touched it.
Yeah, it's one of those, band-aid repairs that becomes permanent. No big deal.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Nah, fix
can't-
it.
You can't tell when
you
drums
know,
are broken though. That's the problem because they don't do anything regardless.
No,
true.
you'll tell when they're broken when they explode.
Something
it was
along
able-
those lines.
It was able to lock up the rear tires when I had that weird situation happen by the red light. So I mean, still works. Can't complain. It held me going down. shit, what was the
Copperhead.
trail up?
Lower damnation.
No,
upper
not that
damnation.
bad. Nope.
Yeah.
I think it's whatever. Regardless, it's steep as shit, and you're literally facing downhill at probably a 35-degree angle. Like it's, I think it's more than that. It's probably like a 40. But still, like it's steep
It's
enough that I'm
steep.
just sitting there holding the
can't
brake, just like, go ahead.
I can't wait to go up that.
I'm down. I think it's an easy climb though. Up. I think it's only like a blue up, right? It's a
Nah,
flat down.
it's you're still dealing with some gnarly shit going up because there's a couple of rock faces that you drop down into, or at least
Yep.
on the line that I'm looking at doing. if
Oh
we're-
yeah, no, I'm thinking of the sweep around line, not the straight up one side. or straight
Yeah.
up the left side. Like,
Nah, we did that on the night ride though. That was cool.
You went up
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about rock lights? Because I've been kind of thinking about getting some rock lights and make it look all bougie, but also I feel like it's not worth the time and effort.
I think they're useful if you actually go wheeling at night. If you don't ever go wheeling at night, you just look like a fucking cocksucker.
So you don't think connecting the lights to the trailer lights so that way at nighttime my Jeep glows going down the highway? You don't think that'd be cool? 'Cause that's kind of what
No.
I'm thinking.
No, I feel like if I saw that, I would want to pull that driver over and hit
Suck my
them.
dick. Oh. Got it. Oh, jeez. Okay, maybe I'll reassess.
Just because, like, that just screams, hit me.
Come on. So, okay, so what if I get like everything matching and looking nice? Then do you think it'll be tacky or do you think it'll look clean then?
Tacky.
I don't know. Like, I'm a fan of the damn pods mounted, like, in the wheel, or, like, inside of the wheel arch to provide enough light that it's actually practical. If they're not putting off enough light to where you can actually use them, I feel like they're kind of worthless. And I feel like it's kind of a niche mod because, let's be real, we don't really wheel that much at night with the club. They just, most of the time, it's during the day, and we, are socialites after darkness falls.
Yeah, true.
Well,
I
like
guess-
that's what I'm saying. Like, I personally hate auxiliary lighting if it's not warranted.
Yeah, true. I mean, I see what you mean. I don't know. I was thinking it'd be kind of.
I'm with you, Cody. If I had the time and didn't have like a million other things that needed to get done, I'd probably put them on just cause. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. And then
Like the big rigs that have them, they generally like it's pretty cool. It's a nice little like feature to have, right?
Yeah,
like,
but
oh,
the
yeah,
big
here's my
rigs, though,
underglow.
the big rigs, that's a safety thing.
No, not. I just mean like big off-road rigs, not
Oh,
big rigs,
oh.
right? I mean,
I thought you meant
sure. I'm sure they look cool too. I didn't know they had underglow, but
With that, I agree.
all their chicken lights and shit.
yeah.
With the if I were doing something like a buggy, it would absolutely have rock lights, but like I said, it would be pods. It wouldn't be the dumb strips that I see done.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't
It
do a strip.
wouldn't.
It'd have to be a bright, like singular light, even one of those
Oh.
littler LEDs that's more.
So not color
directed.
changing. 'Cause I
Yeah,
was
no.
Totally gonna go color changing.
Uh,
No?
on that note, one of the cool little dumb projects I'd like to do is I really, really want to do like a little weld-on bracket to a 99 to 04 Super Duty high steer arm so that I can mount a pod, and when I turn the steering wheel, my light follows the steering wheel for
Yeah,
night wheeling.
we've seen a few buggies and rockaholics that do that. I think it's a pretty cool idea. Although those poor pods, they probably just get destroyed.
Well,
Oh,
that's
well.
why you get the cheap ones
Yeah,
off
I
Amazon.
know, the $20.
Yeah.
It's cool though. If I wheeled at night, I don't think I ever have. We may have to try and change that, but
I'm down. I
Dude,
haven't
I think
gone night
it'd be
wheeling
fun.
Season opener, my house. Night wheel.
No. I want
Yes.
I need trails. I don't want to just hit obstacles. Like I want to be able to go through a trail at night. Like I think that'd be kind of dope. But just
I
Okay,
kind-
Richie, get to it. Make us a trail, not an obstacle. Get cutting.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's how Kish's property works. It's kind of an abusement park. You ping pong between pain.
That's how I explain it is it's a skate park, you know? You go to a skate park, that's Richie's property. You go to Badlands and that's like a bike trail. You know, like that's kind of how I consider the comparison.
I actually like that comparison,
Yeah.
Cody.
See, because you can go obstacle to obstacle, you can kind of run in a line, or you just sit, wait, watch your buddies do dumb shit, and then you go and do the same thing.
I
So,
mean, we should go wheeling Friday night at Badlands this year.
yes. I'm
It
down.
doesn't have to be anything crazy, but we can save the socializing for Saturday.
I'm down for
Um,
that.
You know, it's funny that we got here from talking about like how you plan out a build, if you will. But it's kind of funny because like, what was the most dynamic shit that you changed? For me, it was like I never thought I would be doing 1 tons, 40s, stickies, and night wheeling. And it's very funny to be having this conversation when it was supposed to be a backup car.
Mm,
Huh.
I'd say the biggest change for my plan was going from my truck to a Jeep.
My biggest change was that the Jeep wasn't even supposed to be mine, and then it ended up being mine. I thought it was gonna be Caitlin, so we were building it for Caitlin, and then I ended up having it. So, yeah, it's pretty funny to see the direction that she wanted to go with it and keep it clean and make it look nice, and then you have my abortion, and it's bad.
It's beautiful, but it works. Grumbo?
I mean, I don't know if I've had any. I mean, a big change. I don't want to sound like an asshole and say no, it's gone exactly how I planned. But I guess the biggest change for me was the speed at which I got stuff done. I don't think I expected, to be 1 tons, then cage, then now I'm looking to cut out the floor and make it more buggy like. Like every year it gets less and less road legal and more of a turns more into a buggy, and I don't want it to turn into a full buggy. I guess if that happens, that would be the biggest change for me.
Do
I-
it.
The biggest change, I
Buggy
guess, so
life.
far has just been the pace at which it's all happened. Right? This is what I wanted to happen, but I feel like it's going very fast, and things are breaking, and I'm beefing them up, and then it just gets uglier and uglier, and I love it. But I guess I'm not driving it as much as I thought I'd be now because I got the truck. The truck was a huge change for me.
Yeah, and do you like it though, having something somewhat reliable to drive around?
I thought I did, and then when I drove it to Collins, I was like, damn, I miss this thing. I wish I could drive it every day.
I
mean,
miss
I get
mine.
the same thing. Yeah, I hop in mine and I'm like, I miss driving this thing. That's why I'm totally fine when Caitlin steals my truck. Cause I'm like, yeah, you get to be an ignorant asshole driving around in my Cherokee. Like, I don't
Yeah.
Yours is just ignorant though with that fucking exhaust it's got. It's fucking you know when Cody is showing up.
know. True.
What do you
I've
have?
never-
Like cat
It's-
with a tiny little
a cat.
glass pack?
A-
Or no
a
cat?
So comes off the manifold, which I think our manifolds are actually catted, correct? They have some form of damping. or
They
no, do not
can.
get to those yet?
They can have a pre-cat. Only if they're
Okay.
2000, they're California emissions.
Okay. Oh, okay. So regardless, I have my manifold. It comes down, does a 90 straight to how would we call it, Luke?
It's a
race cat?
Dynamax race bullet.
So
Okay, so
not
tiny.
much.
Does
It's pretty
nothing.
much- you can see right through it if that gives you any, and then it
Yeah.
just downturns.
Makes it louder.
It's really not that bad. Like in all honesty, I mean, you could have like it's not as loud as Richie's. Richie's is louder.
No, it's not. Not
Yeah, it is.
anymore.
Oh wow, you have a full exhaust on that thing now?
Remember I fixed my manifold?
No.
Oh my god, I was so proud to show you it at the shop.
I'm an idiot then. I'm so sorry. I must have not been as proud, but I am proud now. But
Gee, thanks.
For those of you
I-
that can't see, I'm just sitting here shaking my head.
but sadly I don't even get the noise from it because it's a fucking automatic and it doesn't stay in one gear. So right as it gets to that nice sweet crisp spot, it shifts.
It shifts,
and then
yeah.
it goes away. So yeah, I guess cool standard would make it a little bit more obnoxious, but I don't know. Or I get the electronic shifter and do all that kind of fun stuff.
The trick is to gear it to the point that you're just always at $3,000, and then it doesn't matter if you're an automatic or a manual. You're just going to be at that RPM all the time.
Yeah.
At least with mine, I've noticed with like other people when they with their automatics, it shifts very soon. Where mine in first gear, it does not shift until I'm at rev limiter, or like if I sit at a certain like a high RPM, then it will switch. But it'll like I can go until it's just about rev limiter, almost get it to do that first initial like whop up, you know what I'm saying? And then it changes.
Maybe you
So-
should make sure it's got enough fluid in it. I'm pretty sure that's like partially a symptom.
Yeah, that's a symptom of it not being happy with the fluid level. But it's an
I'm thinking that-
AW4,
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
just throw some more fluid in it, maybe a little bit of piss, some pond water. It don't matter.
I'd
Ooh.
skip the pond water.
No pond water. I've already gone through that. I was there before you guys were. And, no, thank you. God, the smell. Oh my lord, I could gag just thinking about the smell. Ugh.
Yeah. Guys working on anything this or lately?
I've been working on a buddy's Jeep. I mean, I fixed my Jeep enough to get it over to Colin, like I've said, and he's working on the front bumper. But me and Jacob have been working on my buddy's Jeep, the purple Jeep that I keep showing pictures to you guys of, and it's got a lot
No,
of
you don't.
little stuff. What?
I have not seen a single picture of whatever Jeep you're working on.
Oh,
Graham.
well, we'll have to post a picture of it. I think we usually post it in the chat with everybody. I think Jacob does.
Yeah, I definitely. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause-
But what
No,
we've been doing-
I haven't noticed it.
Are you even in that chat anymore? I feel like you're never even. I don't think I've seen you type in that chat in weeks.
I did just like yesterday, I think.
Maybe it's me that doesn't type in the chat anymore then.
either way. So we got a bunch of stuff going on. I got to do hydro assist on that. I think I'm going to try to get that done next week. And I got the box tapped. Just doing some finish work on stiffeners and skid plate and changing his bumper because it's not mounted very well. So a lot of little work. It's kind of refreshing working on a Jeep that's not mine and trying to make it more like mine. Does that make sense? You know, just like
Yeah.
cleaner. He wants to daily drive it, and it's close to being there. But I mean, just stuff that I know from having driven mine for a long time that'll just make the quality of life of driving it that much better.
Oh,
So
so
that's
so
what
in
I'm up
other
to.
words, you're being the guinea pig for him.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point, right? teach myself how to do all this shit for myself, and then do it for other
Usually-
people, make their lives
Usually
better.
You're supposed to make them pay for that after that
Well,
point.
yeah, I
but
mean,
hey.
he's paying. It'll be a reasonable price, and
Oh, that's cool.
get a solid
That's really
Jeep.
nice.
So,
Yeah,
Can't beat
that's
that.
awesome.
Yep.
So right now, if you guys were to take your Jeep, throw it up on Facebook, what would yours what would the price be? But what would you think you would actually sell? Honestly. Because I've been thinking about this. I mean, I'm not selling my Jeep, but I thought about it. I'm like, I have XYZ into this. What the hell would I even want for it?
thoughts never even crossed my mind.
So
Couldn't tell you.
rough price right now. If
To
you
get
sell your
it
Jeep.
off of my hands for the amount of effort that I have into it, 10,000. I would never get that.
Yep.
Fair.
I was gonna say the same.
That's fair. I was right around
I
the
don't-
8 to
6 grand range.
Never would get it. Not worth
Well,
it.
I guess I'm the only one looking at this realistically.
So
How much
I
are you
was
selling yours
gonna
for?
I would post it for 55 and take the first 38.
That's fair. That's a fair price for that Jeep, honestly, though. Like you. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a higher chance of selling mine for like $5,000 when it was completely
Yeah.
stock on 31s and a 3-inch lift. Honestly, that thing was so clean, had everything in it. It was fine, low mileage. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can't sell you for more than what I put into you.
Yeah, my thing is, it's more the cost of the parts for me.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, you always know that you're never really gonna get that. I mean, I guess in wheeling, actually, I don't know. You look at Rock Crawlers Classified, people are throwing shit out, just stupid prices for rigs that are in beautiful shape, or not even in beautiful shape, but really nice builds for dirt, absolute
Yeah.
dirt.
Yeah. Well, it's like I look at all those and I think of those as realistically priced.
True.
You know, I don't care how much money you have into a full tube chassis build, but you're not going to get 50,000 for it.
You might.
Especially selling it on Facebook.
Depends on what's in it.
Didn't
It's
Capalto just sell his for
Nah,
60 plus?
Capalto still got his. I was
he
wrong
did.
about that.
Oh, I thought he was
Well,
selling.
no,
it.
but you guys know what I mean though.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
lot of these pretty much complete tube chassis rigs that look pretty decent are getting sold for $20,000,
Cheaper
Yep.
than that.
$25,000.
Cheaper than that, dude. Have you looked at Rock Crawlers Classified lately?
I think he's
Not
talking
in a
more
little
about
while.
not the homebrew chassis. He's talking about a
gotcha.
bent fab chassis with,
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
generic LS and decently built 1-tons. That
Gotcha.
would be
Yeah.
where I'm referencing.
But to get back
But
on
it's
the
like you're
topic-
having-
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, but you're having these legit things and they're reasonably priced. I don't know what happened to the market, but it's everyone's starting to take a step back. It's maybe I should actually price it to sell.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But to get back
Yeah.
I
on
wonder
the
if
topic
Corona-
that Luke suggested earlier, I mean, I know that he's been working on a few of Jacob's things. I actually really haven't been playing around with much. I've just been stockpiling parts. Have you been playing with shit, Luke?
Me and Kish cut half of the side of my Jeep off this weekend.
Ooh.
We have to make, well, mainly Kish. I just helped to provide assistance on the marking and doing the other dumb shit that had to be done to get the supporting stuff done.
What'd you cut it off with?
Angle grinder and a sawzall.
Favorite tools
Yeah.
right there.
I can now, without stabbing myself, I can climb into his Jeep from the outside.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's cut 3 inches below the bottom of that body line where it folds below
Yeah,
the
the
window.
window.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you cut it at the body line or below it?
We cut it below it because mine, or the way that I'm setting up the fenders, they're offset from the body, so I need some sheet metal to fill.
Oh,
So
gotcha,
we're
gotcha.
gonna pull the sheet
Yeah,
metal.
it's set up that way. His the tube going over the fender will be right at the body line.
Mhm.
Nice. That'll look
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, we're
Actually,
trying to keep it street legal.
Yeah, true. I actually did do bushwhacker flares on a buddy of mine's Jeep. Those actually pretty easy to do. Like I was kind of like he was showing me all the different pieces and all the different mounting points. It really wasn't that bad, honestly, and they're actually pretty like structurally sound. I'm genuinely surprised with them because I've always known like I think I've known people with the crappy ones or the China made ones. So, but other than that, really haven't been doing much.
Fair enough.
I will say those bushwhacker flares, you really gotta pay attention to where you drill those holes, otherwise you end up with it a little crooked. I've done
Yeah.
that
Well,
a couple times.
The
On,
ones
on
that
this Jeep, I think I have to fix it on the purple Jeep I'm working on.
on the ones that Buckley just got, they mount up to your factory holes. So the top two, like where your factory, like I guess the
Yeah,
attachment pieces, the little hooks or whatever, you bolt them through those, and then you just so you mount that, get the line, and then you just screw it, like drill a hole, and it's perfect. Like it was super simple,
Hmm.
and then you only
Nice.
cut off like. I don't even know. I mean, it was maybe like 3 inches, like up to the top point, and then that was about it.
Mhm.
But they
I've
definitely
been-
seem like they would take a hit or two. I mean, obviously, if you drill a tree sideways, then you're really probably not going to survive. But
Yeah,
decent enough.
my view on those is they're great for Jeeps that see 75% to 99% of road time.
Yeah.
I don't
Honestly-
see them having a real place getting bashed off of trees. Otherwise, they're awesome.
It depends on what they're made of. My crappy little YJ flares that were just like screwed in with self tappers into the body, those things would not fall off, except for the one time I lost one on the highway. And even then, it didn't want to fall off because what happened is it fell off, hit the back tire, got stuffed up from the front tire, and was sitting on the control arm. I could like feel it. I don't know how to describe it. It's been a hot minute since it happened, but I knew it was there because I looked behind me and I didn't see it, and I had heard it clanging around underneath when it fell off. And when I slowed down to get off to try to save it, then it fell off. But when I was moving at speed, it stayed on there. It was a sad day. I think it was
Is that
Connecticut
your Wrangler
took it.
fenders, or is that or are those your current fenders?
What do you mean? The old YJ flares I used to have, those little
Yeah,
rubber things,
yeah.
those pieces of crap.
Yeah.
I took them off when I did the tube in the back because I didn't want to. The front ones just look. Ugh, they would have just looked weird. With, I guess I could have done it. I don't know. I've never been pulled over. Those flares weren't helping me, so I just took them off. I don't care. I'm done caring about that.
So if I dove nose my Jeep, you think I should still run it down the road?
No.
I mean,
Yes.
no, I'd give it a
Yes.
shot. See what happens. You'd probably be
If I, like,
fine.
somehow find a way to like bolt on big ass fenders that I could just take off on trail. But I,
You
I
could
don't
do
know. I
that
feel like
too.
it's just bringing more attention to that Jeep than it needs.
I mean, with
Ju-
what we were
just-
talking about cutting out of there, I don't support.
Well, when we do the back half, yeah, I don't think I'm driving down the
No,
road
with the dove
anymore.
nose. We were talking about removing 3 of the grill slots, so that thing's gonna be
Yeah.
pretty narrow.
Yeah, like bringing the whole front of the Jeep just to the unibody, and then extending backwards out to the body from there.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't do it.
Come on.
No,
it'd
just
be
do what
fun.
Luke's doing and do a wide body mod.
Nah.
Yeah,
want-
Cody,
Yeah.
I think this sort of ties in to something I've been kind of meaning to bring up. There just hasn't been a good point. Your vision seems like it's very different for your Jeep than my vision and what I think Richie's got going on and what Luke's doing now. You
Yeah.
sort of from the beginning, I feel like you've been, more interested in like full on buggy. Like you don't care about street legal, road legal. You just want a cool buggy. And that's
So that
I
kind
wanna
of
see
all
what you're-
started. It all started from when, like, I did the whole little Jeep bullshit, breaking this, doing that, wheeling it well out of its capabilities, and then being stuck on trail and be like, this sucks. Now I have to figure out how I'm driving this home. I'm calling AAA. They're saying no, we can't touch it because it's on trail, or even when it's back on the road, they still won't take it. So I made the steps, like choosing when I bought my truck, I bought the 2500 specifically because I knew I was going to be towing it. I knew I was going to be buying a trailer. And I think it just kind of like slides down into the idea of I want to kind of set up like a Razor in the sense of, well, I guess a modified Razor, the sense of like you drive it, You roll it over, you laugh about it, you flip it back over, and you keep on going. Is kind of, I don't want to be limited to, oh shit, I have to drive this down the road now. Like, no, fuck that. I want to beat the shit out of it, drive it like I stole it, have a great time, get some content for the potential YouTube if we do one. And like, that's, I don't know, like, I've always been that kind of arrogant asshole that's like, not center of attention, but I want to be known that I was there. I don't want to, like, if I die, I want that fucking day to be a holiday. So like, that's kind of always been my mindset. And I think that back halving it, or even just building the cage to go around the cockpit and then just letting the rest of it go to shit and just making sure that my tires are good and my suspension's good and just having a good time. I think that's just always been my vision with it. But there's also been you guys who have been suggesting, like, hey, maybe that's not the best bet because you enjoy driving the thing. You enjoy driving it to work and having your coworkers being like, I swear I almost saw you flip over because those tires are so low or your tire's flat. And I'm like, nah, I went rock crawling, dude. Like,
You know, I think part of that, though, is like with the vision that you have in the back of your head. And to me, it's like I don't want to cut up a fully functional vehicle again because I didn't have good luck with it. I'd like to build a tube chassis and have it be what I want it to be. If you want to cut up an XJ and have functional heat and AC, totally understand that. Just realize that you're going to be rebuilding frame rails from front to rear and, you know, all of that jazz that comes along with it. If you're willing to accept that, go for it, you know?
I mean, honestly, you giving your insight because of Ducky is the only, like, 20% in my brain that's like, maybe this.
Oh, and he disappeared as per our literal
Really
usual.
Oh,
We almost made it. We almost made it.
We were so close.
It had to get its one kick in.
Dude, I'm telling you, it just, even my computer knows that I have to be known that I'm talking or whatever it may be. Like, so back to what I was saying, like, that the Ducky and the complications that you had are the biggest things that stick out of my head. That's like, hey, this is not probably the best decision, but
The problem with
I also-
Ducky was there was a lack of commitment. If you are willing to commit to the project, you are good. If you build 3/4 of a buggy, it will always be 3/4 of the buggy with 100% of the problems.
yeah, I mean, so that's probably why you suggest the idea of back halving it. Don't just do an external cage, cut the roof off. Like, no, take the time, take the effort, and it's probably when I have my own space to do a majority of it, so that way the pre-build to it would be done prior to it going to whoever I may have back half it, because me and Luke were talking about it. That's further down the line, but is that kind of why you suggest, like, hey, take the time, pull the back half of the Jeep forward, make it look clean, cap off the unibody, and then build the back half off of that?
That is 100% of the reason, because if you cut off the front frame rails and you cut off the rear where, you know, you want it to be roughly, that right there is going to be your best bet at making the chassis pretend to stay alive, or keep that little section of unibody that you would have left in one piece. Because if you leave it full bodied and you try and do what you want to do, I mean, I think Graham and myself are decent examples of we're both dealing with track bars ripping themselves off the frame right now. If you're gonna go for it, go for it. Let's fucking get sick with it, and we'll build you a tube frame for the front section if you want to go down that route. Otherwise, if you're not going to commit to that route, just buy a used buggy.
Yeah.
Nah, see, I got a little bit of a different.
Well, I'm sorry. I should say if it's going to be a fully off-road and your mindset is buggy.
I think
But why
Luke
couldn't
is
they keep-
definitely Luke is scared because of Ducky, and that is rightfully so. Ducky was missing all of his sheet metal. There was
How am
nothing
I scared? I am literally sitting
Listen,
here
you
saying,
hate the Ducky, and you hated the Ducky.
yes, but I'm literally sitting here buying more tube. I bought fucking stickies, which probably are
Yeah, I
not
know.
gonna live on there.
you're scared of building a buggy out of a pre-existing vehicle because of your one experience with it being Ducky, which was a poor example of how to build a buggy out of a real, or not a real vehicle, an existing platform like a ZJ, uh, to the point where there was just no ZJ left, right? I think you could do a tasteful, like, Cherokee buggy pretty easily with a dove nose front. If you wanted to chop the back off, you could.
Oh
If you
yeah.
wanted to front, you could make it more like a little truggy thing. You could have it be open if you wanted. You could have it have glass if you wanted. That's a lot more work, but I think that'd be cool. And I think that's almost. I mean, if it was me, I would say build something like that, like because
Yeah.
that's a little
I'm
different. It's
Graham, I'm not disagreeing, but I'm saying that if you are going to commit to doing it, fully commit to doing it, be prepared for the fact that you might have to pull out your wiring harness and trim out
Oh
all
yeah.
the excess BS, which means that the dash has to come out of a buggy to get worked on. You might end up putting in a different dash at that point, and it's like there's a bunch of random little shit that comes with cutting up a full or a functional vehicle instead of adding electronics onto nothing.
So
I mean,
to give you the best idea of kind of what I'm thinking is a mixture of my Jeep, but the front end is still Cherokee dove nosed with the Mike Craig back end. To me, that would be the perfect recipe for a like. The only thing is I would have to probably completely readjust the cage at that point, so that way it's all structural for the back
Fuck.
end.
Yeah, so for me, the reason that I'm like that's totally cool and that's totally irrelevant to the point that I'm trying to make. I'm talking
Oh,
about the
sorry.
Cherokee unibody failing. That's my biggest
Okay.
problem with doing a Cherokee is it's like you have to cut so much of the unibody out that it's like what do I have left for a Cherokee? If you are going to try and keep glass in it, keep a functional set of doors on it, and have the vehicle look like something, or the buggy look like something, totally start with a Cherokee, but cut the frame rails off and cap them where it's like the edge of the engine bay and the end of the unibody. Do a full cap on that so that way there's a minimum amount that could be straight plated on three sides and you know that your inner frame rail is going to hold up
well, I
and
think
not
honestly,
destroy itself.
some of it comes down to experience. If I mean the whole track bar ripping off of that inner rail, that's something that I sort of was on my radar. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until I rolled under it and was like, oh yeah, I'm literally peeling away the bottom of my frame rail from the unibody frame.
Yeah,
If I had set that up better, you wouldn't have had that situation. If you had a brace that went from one side of the track bar to the other side, and you had a stiffener that wrapped around the whole way, like something like the Hooligans, they make a pretty decent kit. It's a pain in the ass to weld up, but it's a solid kit. Tons of metal on those. Then you'd be better off. And I think nowadays there's more options to keep
I
or to
guess.
box in the unibody. It definitely takes a little bit of know-how. I don't know if you'd get it right if you were just gonna start from nothing. Say I'm building a Cherokee buggy with a back half tube and the front end dove nosed, and I'm gonna put all this tube in it and keep the unibody rails but stiffen them, right? Then you might still run into issues, but you're gonna run into that regardless of what you do, whether you keep it full body or not. The only way you're gonna get around that would maybe be if you were in a tube buggy that was custom built from the ground up. But even then, you're gonna run into problems unless if you've never built a tube buggy before, you're gonna have problems with your first tube buggy. It just
I
comes
guess
with it.
I do understand your point on that, but I'm just saying, like, as far as a platform, Cherokees are notorious for the unibodies destroying themselves.
So
Yep.
why not just go 4-link front? If it's an off-road specific vehicle, why
Okay.
not just 4-link? No, but that's what I'm saying. Like that would allow for me to keep the front unibody because I just feel like taking out the front unibody and then doing a full tube chassis. Well, it's technically 3/4 tube chassis at that point would be more of a pain in the ass than it would be worth.
All right, so the motor pops, what are you going to put in it?
Don't know. Probably
All
an
right.
LS just because it'd be plain and simple.
All right, so you're going to put an LS into a stock Cherokee unibody rail on a Jeep that gets abused. I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible idea, but I'm at the point where if I'm going to commit to doing something, I'm going to commit the full way. And I feel like I've got the knowledge and the skill set that if I'm going to commit to doing something like that, it would get done.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's definitely something that we could toss between one another. I just, this is the first time I've been hearing you say something about the front end on this project. So it was a little bit of a shock because
Oh,
it's.
well, here's the other thing. With you, you're working in stages, and, it's like it might end up with the 60 and all that, but I'm saying when it hits the point where it goes full-blown buggy and you want to be able to roll it down a hill and not worry about it, that level of detail is the level of detail that, in my mind, goes with that. So if you
Okay.
plan on having it be something where, oh, yep, nope, I accidentally flopped it, not a big deal. Yeah, if you plan on having it survive multiple seasons of hard rolls, you gotta
Well,
go the full way.
Well,
Yep.
also you have to tie in the idea of the style of wheeling that I enjoy doing. I don't enjoy the do or die like wall of death. No matter how built my rig is, right now where I sit, I cannot see myself doing that just because I don't find the fun in that. There is no fun to that. I love the stupid tight technical shit where your wheel is above your fender and you're like, okay, but if I go too far one way, I'm gonna flop this thing. I want to be able to do other things, but I don't see myself jumping it down a hill and just being like, fucking bon voyage, let's run it. Like, that to me just doesn't
Yeah,
excite me.
that's understandable. I'm just saying, like, if you're tailor your or build to your expectations. Like, overkill is underrated.
Okay, I got you. I
There's
definitely
no
hear what you're
such thing
saying.
as overkill.
Yeah, true. I don't know.
Yeah, there
I,
can
I
be.
see what you mean. I should build it above what I'm willing to do because then it will last. Otherwise,
Yes.
don't fucking bother because you're just gonna blow it up because you're gonna at some point outwheel what the rig is capable of. So what's the point? I
Yeah,
got you.
and my thing is, it's like I have a perfectly streetable Cherokee, and that's the reason I go in the direction that I go. It's perfectly
Mhm.
streetable. There's no point in me destroying that thing to make it into what it will never be, which is a full body or a full buggy. Like,
Could
unless
Mhm.
it, but there's not going to
could
be enough
transform
Cherokee
like a
left.
caterpillar to a butterfly, you know, from an ugly
Yeah,
ass blueberry
yeah.
to a beautiful two buggy
Preach, preach.
crawling machine that you roll every 2 seconds.
But like, if I'm
It
gonna,
would take a lot of money and a lot of work, and it would look very different when it came out of that
oh
chrysalis.
yeah,
You know,
it's already gonna be fucking different as it sits. It's not,
Yeah.
it's gonna be as crude as ever, but it'll be
And
cool.
I was just gonna say it. If you really want to think about it, right now Barry's kind of is in a cocoon and is gonna come out completely different.
oh man, I'm glad that analogy stuck.
Yeah, I kind of just call it Barry as a little bit of a sign of respect to that rig that runs at FNF, but yeah,
But
fucking Barry is entertaining.
I'm just trying to understand. Well, I get no, never mind. Don't follow my train of thought because it was already. I'm just my vision would be the Mike Craig, my XJ had a baby and made an abortion is kind of what I'm thinking. But I do see
Oh,
what you
I
mean. If I
don't.
want to build it to the point of as I first came out and said, like if I want to build it to the point that I could pull up to any obstacle and go, yeah, fuck it, let's see if it'll make it happen, and then flip it over end 2 times and then put it back on the wheels and turn it on. It needs to be able to handle an assault like that. If
Mhm.
if not, then don't build it to that point because you're not like I see what you mean. I just
Yeah,
trying to
I'm not.
collect it all in the brain.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like a very cold splash of water to the face, but it's a full-bodied rig will do 90% of what a buggy will do, if it's built right. But that last 10% is the largest 10%, like Graham was saying, when it comes to the last 10% of the build takes 90% of the effort, or
Yep.
90% of the cash. That's just what I'm getting at. So you have to be willing to put in 100% of the effort of building a tube rig to get it to that last point and still have it be Cherokee. I think Josh did a very good job on his white XJ. That's like perfectly towing the line and has all the work done.
Yeah,
But I-
his is still too full body for me.
Yeah, his
Too
is still full-bodied, but it is, you can tell it was an XJ at one point, but it's all been reinforced. It's all been tubed out.
Correct. Yep.
And you can see the changes. You can see, if you look closely at some of his tube work, I thought it was really interesting because you can see where the cage used to be mounted because it was a 4-door, right?
I think it
think.
was.
Right.
Yep.
You can see how it used to be set up, and then it looked like the top got chopped off or something, or he cut out the the B and C pillars just to change it all, which I thought was, for me that was a little eye opening. I was like, damn, yeah, you actually can just cut that off and make things fit where they
Yep.
have to fit if you're
Mhm.
going to change it up that much. So
That's what I mean by that. Anyone got any final thoughts?
No, I think we're
No.
pretty good.
All right, well, let's wrap it up here. Keep it rubber side down, dent side up, and take it easy.